Yo, it's Guido coming at you with a tactics talk. Let's talk Casemate TDs. I know a lot of my subscribers like to play Casemate TDs, and I don't have too many examples of it in the video, so let's add one right here. And we're just going to call this one simply How to Casemate TD. I am in my SU 12244 Premium Russian Tier 7 Casemate TD. You can see that we are in a 3-5-7, and I am in the middle, which is a good setup for the 12244. 12244 is at the edge of OP. Some would argue that it is OP. So it's a fantastic tank. And this is an interesting battle because there's quite a few Casemate TDs running around in this battle. So we have spawned on the northern spawn, and I am headed down here southbound just a little bit. And as we are on Redshire, it is quite a TD friendly map. So there is the typical ridge fighting that goes along this ridge right here between TDs and lights, hanging out on these two for the south spawn and the north spawn. There's usually a heavy brawl of some kind over here on the east, and then there's usually a skirmish over here on the west. Sometimes heavy, sometimes mediums. You just never know with crossfires from TDs and the guys on the two ridges right there. Sometimes you'll get a few battles down in this little river bottom right here as people try to flank and get around. So I'm going to head up to this lower rise right here, which has shots over, as you can see that way, above where the WZ-132 is. That's their ridge sitting right over there. So Casemate TDs initially is about positioning. So it's not camping, it's not hanging out at the cap, and I'll have some really tough luck with RNG here early on taking shots. But it's moving out to find a spot where you can support the team but be flexible enough to move somewhere else. And you can see they've got quite a few scouts and whatnot up here. I just really have a hard time getting any hits in here. That 12T is a big problem because he's going to start lighting our guys up on our ridge. So just miss. Eventually I'll prioritize that guy. But for now I'm just trying to get these guys, and this position that I have taken has allowed me to hang out behind this bush and get shots for days as long as these guys are lit up. So there's that 12T I talked about. Should have prioritized him a little bit earlier because he's really giving our guys on the ridge a hard time. They can't get rid of him. Now we've got rid of him. So we work over their ridge guys pretty well, and that guy dives off. So now you can see the rest of the battle starting to develop. We only sent an M6 over here. There's a Cromwell down in that river bottom I talked about. And then we've got our guys camping up here on the ridge, and then some various, I don't know what these two exactly expect to be doing, but this is a great point right here. Remember I talked about the Casemate TD needs to get up forward, maybe here, maybe up to here to kind of support this way. I'm supporting across here. Maybe if you take a TD on this hill, you can support over here. This guy is not doing much of anything. Now he may have some very long range shots over just to here, but that would rely on them poking out and coming around the corners. The battle usually is on the two back sides of this little hill for the red team here and for the green team here, where that Nashorn's not really going to have much of an effect. So this is just an awful initial position. That is not what you do with the Casemate TD. You move them up here where you can support. And more importantly, move up when it's time. So now I'm just going to be patient. And that's the other thing about Casemate TDs. You do need to have a little bit of patience. This particular tank, unlike most Casemates, can be used quite effectively in an assault mode type where it can move forward and brawl just a little bit, just based on its agility and speed and its reload time. But of course, with a relatively low hit point pool of only 840 and the fact that it doesn't have a turret, that's not easy and it's not really advised. It's more of a emergency situation, contingency if you will. So I'm just going to sit around in these bushes here, and I'm really relying on my team to give me light so I can get shots. Looking around here, they're on the back side. Oh, there's a KV2, he's come up the middle. So our Cromwell died, but their KV2 has decided to come up the middle, and for whatever reason don't quite have a light, but it doesn't matter because he just got nuked by our KV2. So our KV2 moves up, the M6 is over there, still doing his thing, and I am keeping an eye over on the east side because now their Tiger 1 has showed up. So that's an entirely different beast, and now it's a situation where potentially I may have to be relied on to keep him from pushing us over here. So supporting both directions. I might actually miss a few shots because they are kind of peeking and whatnot and prodding over on the other side, but it looks to me like the E25 and the Comet are actually on the other side of that ridge right there, and I don't really have any shots. You can see I take a quick look right there and don't have it. The Leo gets away, gets across that ridge, and I miss a shot there. So that's one of the things that's difficult with a Casemate, obviously, is spinning right and left can be very difficult to keep your gun into the fight when you're on two different axes. But the good news is I am in a position where I can do so if need be. Here comes the Tiger, and I'll throw that 414 into his side. And the KV2. So I had two options right there. I could have rushed forward right there and tried to support the KV2, but you can see that he ends up getting killed by the Tiger 1, and based on the Tiger 1's DPM, he should be able to take me down. So I decided not to do that. Got two guys on the ridge over there. And again, patience. I'm just going to sit here with the camo that this downed tree gives me. I'm really hoping that that Tiger 1 will come around the corner. The game is still in the balance. And I am still in a position to support what's going on. Look again over there, see if I can get a shot. No, they're still on the back edge. And of course this is one of the negatives of a Casemate TD and having a little too much patience. My gun hasn't fired for quite a long time, so I'm not really contributing at this point. Yes, I am watching for the Tiger 1 so he doesn't get around us, but probably should have moved forward a while ago. Because guess what? He's not really interested in pushing against us, and I wouldn't either. He just got hit by me. So he knows there's at least me sitting there. And there you go. So patience pays off a little bit. We find that very dangerous Sturv. That is definitely one of the dangerous tanks. And we end up taking him out. The Tiger 1 took another hit. Looks like maybe he might be moving this way. Let's find out what happens. Comet's still doing his thing. Let's see if we can get him. No, that was right into the dirt. Holy cow. So I'll just scooch forward and I'll get into this next bush. And that's one thing you need to do with your Casemate TDs is kind of find the cover that's there. Use what you've got. They've pushed through pretty well on the west side. They're still winning the ridge fight. There's an E25 in the back, and the AMX AC46 is still very dangerous, as is the E25. I mean, he can really machine gun me down. And now I'm moving forward. So I would say I'm probably about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes late doing this. I wish I'd have done it a while back, and I might have been able to kill that Tiger. Even had I taken a hit, that would have been a good tank to take out of the battle. And unfortunately, he actually survives for quite a while. I don't find him over here until quite a time later. They get the AC46 out. That is a good kill. There's the Comet. He is outgunned at 5%. He should not last very long. Oh, unfortunately, the E25 does kill the 132, and there goes the Comet. From Artie, of all things. So again, Casemate TD, I'm going to come up to the top of this hill and now start with some overwatch and see if I can't find some of these guys. Now, I want to be careful because they do have an Artie and they do have an E25 and the Tiger as well. So that's actually a lot of DPM. Artie tracks me, those two guys just start pummeling me. I could be done very quickly if I get caught out. I'll come around here and see what we got. Patience. 8 minutes. We've got plenty of time. There's a lot of tanks. Our guys with better view range than me are moving up. And that's one other thing to think about with the majority of Casemate TDs. Their spotting and view range. Their view range is very bad as compared to other tanks. So it's difficult to use them as a scout, especially out in the open. The WZ just said spotting doesn't count, but it's fun. Well, I would beg to differ. I'm not sure what he means by count. I'm assuming he means win 8. Which, who cares? Because it does count towards winning the game. I'm really being quite extra cautious on this one. Sometimes I get that way. It's not very often. Come around here and see what I can find. Where is that bloody Tiger? Ah, found him. So he was just underneath me right there the whole time, sitting on the back edge of that hill. I get him, I'm spotted, I know the arty probably sees me, but at this point, let's just start getting some DPM on these guys. Oh, excellent. Someone tracked him. Lucky on RNG. I was sort of spazzing around when I shot. Little lead fire, take him out. Ah, there's the arty. Quickly fix it so I've got full aim capability. Run, you little punk. And there he goes. And I switched to gold later on, which is actually pretty good. Usually I switch to gold very early, and I clearly didn't need it on any of those guys. Initially, when I went towards the tiger, I thought I might need it if I found him face to face, just to make sure I punched through, especially if he might have been angled a little bit. And then, of course, I forgot it was up, and I didn't need it for the rest of those guys. But there you have it. Well, I hope you like what you saw. I hope you learned a little bit about Casemate TDs. Patience is important. Positioning is important. Patience is important, but it's also important to know when to move forward and when to get in there. And I was a little bit late and hesitant on a couple of those. And it really, one of the problems with a lot of kind of pure Casemate TD players is once they actually have to move forward, because they don't play other types of tanks like lights and mediums, they don't have a really good idea of how to move forward and when to move forward. So you can learn that a lot about that by playing lights and mediums and even heavies to a large extent if you are having trouble with it. Obviously there's quite a few videos I have on my channel which will help that as well. I hope you learned something. I hope you like what you saw. If you did, make sure you subscribe, and we will see you.